the courts and activists came up with a new definition of what would be illegal discrimination. And it gets rid of the idea of intention and intentional discrimination completely. Disparate impact is the conceit that if there's a standard that blacks do more poorly at, it's discriminatory. So if you have a certain expectation of reading level or math skills to qualify to be a teacher, to be a firefighter, to be a police officer, and a employer administers a test and blacks do more poorly on that, that's a racist test. Instead of meeting the standard, our response is to throw out the standard. And the employer is not racist. You don't have to show that the employer wants to discriminate against blacks. The employer just wants a qualified workforce. But if he has used some kind of standard that means that there are less blacks qualifying, that then becomes something that violates civil rights. I'll give you an example right out of the Biden administration.
Maryland State Police hoping to settle a U.S. Justice Department investigation into its alleged racial discrimination by paying almost $3 million.
The Maryland State Police wanted to make sure that the state troopers could read at a very basic level, because as a police officer, you're going to need to write police reports, you're going to need to understand the patrol guide, you're going to need some level of dealing with written language and being able to read and write. Very minimal level. So the Maryland State Police had a written exam. And this is the type of question, 4 very simple paragraphs written at like maybe a 3rd grade level that discussed theft from libraries in the United States. And then followed up a true or false question. Is theft a problem in U.S. libraries? Just reading comprehension, if you've been able to understand this 4-paragraph passage. Well, this test, and the questions were all at that level of simplicity, had what's known as a disparate impact on black applicants to be Maryland State Troopers. Black applicants failed the test at higher rates than whites. The Maryland State Troopers didn't intend to exclude black state troopers. Racism had nothing to do with it. It was a colorblind, neutral test of skills. But because it had a disparate impact on black applicants and disqualified more black applicants, the Biden Justice Department brought a suit against the Maryland State Police for having a discriminatory test.
Hiring tests that unfairly and unlawfully excluded them from employment.
This is ridiculous. Taxpayers should not be on the hook for this. It was not a racist department. Disparate impact means that an institution can be completely colorblind. It can want to have as many different races as possible. But if it has a standard that it's colorblind, meritocratic, but that blacks do poorly on, you got to throw out the standard. And it's not just sort of public service jobs like policing. Our taxpayers in New York recently paid out $2 billion in damages because the exam for licensing teachers in New York State, which I can tell you went through decades of being dumbed down to proleptically avoid disparate impact. Blacks still didn't do as well on it. And so a court decided, even though you've spent decades throwing out every question on this exam that has too wide a racial divergence, you still didn't have the same proportion of black applicants passing as white applicants. We're going to throw out the exam. And you, New York taxpayers, are liable for $2 billion. Disparate impact is our greatest weapon against merit. It is the greatest weapon against excellence. And it is an abuse of the spirit of our civil rights laws, which was to say, we're going to allow everybody to reach their highest potential. We ban discrimination, but we do not ban excellence. We do not ban high expectations. We want all people to reach the same level of competence. We're not going to have 2 standards of achievement, one for a particular race, another for another race. one for a particular sex, another for a different sex. We are going to have a single level of excellence in this society, and that is how we're going to move forward.